Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here today and joining us for this important discussion. The future is Black: poetry, Afrofuturism, and experimentation. Here with us today is poet and scholar Nikia Chaney, Inlandia Institute Board of Directors member and independent art curator Alisa Henry, and a student and colleague of Nikia's, Cassidy Parong. My name is Katie Porter, and I'm Executive Director of Inlandia Institute, a literary and cultural arts nonprofit based in inland Southern California. Before we begin, Inlandia Institute respectfully acknowledges and recognizes our responsibility to the current and original caretakers of this land, water, and air, the Cahuilla, Tongva, Luiseno, and Serrano peoples, and all of their ancestors and descendants, past, present, and future. Today, the Inlandia region is home to many Indigenous peoples from all over the world, and we express our gratitude to them for allowing us the opportunity to live and work on these homelands. And now, a few housekeeping notes. We want you to know that closed captioning is available for this event via the CC icon on the lower part of your screen. And conversely, if you would like to turn it off, there is a little up arrow to the right of that, and you can choose hide subtitle. Also, this event is being recorded, and it is a view-only event. So if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box. And for clarification, it's view only until we get to the open mic, at which point you will get some instructions from Nikia, but please do type your name into the chat if you would like to read for the open mic. And when it's your turn, raise your hand using the raise your hand icon at the bottom and turn your video on so we can promote you so you may read your poem. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers. Nikia Chaney is the author of Us Mouth, Sis Fuss, and Ladies Please. Her memoir in verse, Ladybug, is forthcoming from Inlandia Books. Nikia served as Inlandia Literary Laureate from 2016 to 2018. She is also the founding editor of Chef Poetry, an online journal for experimental poetry, and Jammy Publishing, a publishing imprint dedicated to fostering community among poets and writers. Welcome, Nikia.
Hi.
So I'll be turning it over to her in just a few minutes. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Alisa Henry, who is an independent curator based in inland Southern California. And she has curated exhibits for many institutions on both the East and West coasts, including the California African American Museum, Leica Gallery, New York, the UCLA Hammer Museum, the Japanese American National Museum, the Max Center for Architecture, the California Museum of Photography, and most recently, the Riverside Art Museum, including a project titled The Visual Voice, which she co-curated with artists Charles Bibbs and Bernard Hoyes, Brenna Youngblood, Lavender Rainbow, and 1960 Now, photographs by Sheila Prebright, which is still in installation. So if you want to see it, take a look at the Riverside Art Museum. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie. Great to be here.
And our last panelist for today is Cassidy Perron. Cassidy is a student at Cabrillo College studying the intersection of creative writing, dance, and political theory. Her work has appeared in multiple galleries, showings, festivals, and anthologies, and her manuscript, Sod, Ocean, Bring, Plow, Pile, Hard, Father, has won an award. As both a poet and a trained linguist, Cassidy is passionate about reconstructing language and notions around language. Her studies have led her to the experimentation of forms, interactive media, and advocating for language rights. So welcome, Cassidy.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here with y'all.
So now I would like to hand it over to Nikia and Lisa and Cassidy to begin our conversation. So welcome, everyone.
All right. I am so excited to be here with everybody this weekend and with Lisa and Cassidy to talk about this subject. This is one of my passions, right? Afrofuturism and Afropunk and all things that are science fiction and experimental. So to be able to talk about them and to talk about poetry and to talk about literature and those really fun, funky things that are out there is deeply, deeply, deeply exciting to me. So I'm so excited to do that. Now, as a poet, I do write experimental poems. I tend to do things with language and with sound and with the shapes on the page. So it's nice to be able to talk about why I love this so, so very much. So I'm just happy to be here. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. Okay.
It's wonderful to be able to have this conversation because this type of artwork, poetry, literature, film, this topic is so rich and really is part of almost any genre of art you can think of.
Mhm.
And I love so much the potential it has of Afrofuturism, just in not only an aesthetic and an art form, but how we reorganize and rethink the different ways we can interact with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to start with a poem. I'm going to go ahead and do a poem. And I did something kind of special, just really quickly with it, because I like the way that things are on the page. And I want us to start thinking about like pushing that envelope and showing things in a different way, that we're not just stuck, just those white words on that, or the black words on the white page, that we can actually do it, especially when it comes to through what we can do online and what we can do electronically. So I'll start with my poem, The Tin Woman. And I did something really, really fun with it. And I'll go ahead and let it play as I read it. It should start right now. Here we go. All right. The Tin Woman is not deity, nor queen, no fist, no flower. She does not have limbs, nor does she rotate round her ball frame. She is not pearl held in the hand, squeezed and released back on broken flint made firm, and her skin does not peel off to reveal under the silver sap something liquid, clean, peach. She is not beauty shimmering, terminal guise, not steel framed, not lashes of copper, not buttoned, not brushed, nor tresses of wire lean that I, or you, or he, or they unbraid. And baby, she does not say, just borrow my face, or please, she cannot speak. I just need you to love me. For she, this made thing, written and crafted, unbuilt, waits for the sunset's fingers of light to burn away the scars from the ending of well meaning slurs, for the unneed of having to mask and bake self into box, gadget and rig it always, the brown clay in wear. And the thing about this poem um, that's interesting to me is that I imagined this tin woman, this woman made of metal, right? And how that metal kind of encapsulated her whole body and created this mask around who she was. And even though she was this sort of robotic, futuristic being, she was still a Black woman. And she was still going through some of the struggles that a Black woman would go through. And I really think that Afrofuturism does this. It takes some of those ideas for freedom, those ideas for connection or for resistance, and they put them into a different context. And so I'm really, really interested in that. So yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share that with you to start out with. Um, but we can watch a little bit of a video and get another idea of Afrofuturism before we get into the talk. So we'll just watch a little bit of this video so you can really get an idea of what Afrofuturism is.
What does it mean for Black people to have a future? What does that look like?
In February 2018, Marvel's Black Panther broke box office records and elevated the phrase Afrofuturism to the forefront of the American lexicon. But Afrofuturism is a practice that goes far beyond the aesthetic of Black people donning cool science fiction-y costumes. It is a genre of speculative fiction that highlights what regular science fiction can't and won't.
Greg Tate has spoken about how Black people live the alienation that science fiction writers imagined.
The parallels between Black life and sci-fi storylines are blatant. Despite this, there has been a glaring exclusion of Black people from works of science fiction. As such, one might think that Black people would shy away from speculative fiction and instead opt to focus on the present.
We need to represent Blackness and Black people within every realm. We need to be able to see that that imagination is key, and representation has to do with allowing ourselves to be able to let our imaginations take flight, that creative impulse, that's essential.
Afro-aliens call us weird. Traveled through the galaxy and we landed here.
Afrofuturism is an art form, practice, and methodology that allows Black people to see themselves in the future despite a distressing past and present. It calls upon sci-fi imagery and futuristic ideas to reflect upon the marginalization of Black people. Practitioners conceptualize an array of visions of what a Black future could look like. But what does that look like? We identified 4 unique Afrofuturist artists who have used their work to imagine Black life beyond its current state of global oppression. A 500-year history of colonialism, slavery, racism, and segregation have left people of the African diaspora with a disjointed idea of what it really means to be home.
Always feeling like we ain't from here, this is not our land, this is not our people, being considered like this thing that's to be feared, like this unknown.
Visual artist and hip-hop MC Jessica Voloris uses speculative fiction and science fiction tropes to encourage people of the African diaspora to phone home. Her piece, named after the famous E.T. line, uses audio soundscapes to allow people to audibly imagine what home might sound like. In her play, Enough VO5 for the Universe, Melanie Goodrow depicts a world 100 years into the future where God is a gender non-binary Black person. It is a vision of the future that celebrates Black queer lives in spite of present-day queer and trans antagonism. A toxic soup of poverty, misogyny, anti-Blackness, and transphobia leave Black transgender women and femmes at an exorbitantly high risk for being murdered.
I thought it was an expansive image of God, to think of God as a man who also can be a woman. We have.
All right, so we're gonna stop there and go ahead and go with our talk, but I think it's really, really, really interesting, some of the ideas that
What does it mean for Black?
brought up. We're having a Saturday, you guys. We're having a Sunday, you guys, so don't stress it. But I think it's really interesting, some of the ideas that they brought up in that video about Afrofuturism, right? Envisioning African Americans, envisioning ourselves in a future when normally, or we're not placed in that. And I think that that's so important. What do you think, Lisa?
Well, absolutely. And it's so interesting that the video started with, Black Panther and talking about how that kind of maybe put Afrofuturism into like the mainstream. But these elements of picturing a future, but also embodying like lived experience of Black people at the same time have been around in the visual arts, certainly, and in music for many years. So it didn't start with Black Panther, but Black Panther kind of brought it sort of to the mainstream and kind of exploded it, right? But the artists that are in that first part of the video, I mean, these are multimedia artists. They're doing sound work, they're doing theater, they're doing visual art, they're doing video. And that has been, it's almost a tradition, it's almost a tradition in the visual arts that people have been looking at those themes of how would you picture your future, but not as a, so interesting because I think it's not as a fantasy, but just as a projection, right? or a kind of contending with all these things, but not like an escapism. That's what I get from a lot of Afrofuturist work. It's not escapism, but it is contending with time, space, history, lived experience, and the concept of the future.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Not escapism. It's like we're going to talk about these issues, right? And we're going to talk about these issues in that kind of truth telling way. We're going to boldly talk about them, but we're going to do it in this very expansive idea. You know, we're going to do it in future, like we're going to talk about it in the future, or we're going to talk about it in a different way. I thought that was so interesting about this idea. What do you think, Cass, about some of these ideas?
I definitely agree. And I love everything that Afrofuturism is doing in terms of rethinking forms and rethinking ways that different art and different ideas can interact with each other.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, one of the things that I always think of is that it's not just a style and a genre, right? Because I think that's one of the things that we tend to think of first, that it's just like, oh, it's just a style, like Afrofuturistic style, right? Or it's just a genre of writing, like I'm writing like, you know, about the Afrofuturism or Afropunk or George Clinton or something like that. It just seems like it's beyond that, right? That it's so much bigger. And what I've always noticed is just that there's so much innovation in it, right? And it's really a push to make something new, and a push to see something new or to see something that has never been done before. And so I think that's the thing that kind of gets me. If you'll look at kind of the slides, I had some of my students give me some pictures of some images that they saw from Afrofuturism. And I thought it was so cool, some of the things that they found, right? And you'll see like, you know, how in the world can you categorize that? Right? You know, like it's so cool just image wise. And it's more than just intermixing like Black culture with futuristic style. It's really creating something new, but it's always rooted in the Black arts. And I think that that's what's so interesting about this particular genre. Sometimes the focus is on dress, language, and identity, but for the most part, there is that blending of cultural expression. And I think that's so, so, so important about it. But your artist, Lisa, like the artist that you wanted to talk about.
Well, there's so many, right? And so I actually had a hard time kind of narrowing things down and trying to, condense it. Because I mean, we could go for 2 hours just talking about the visual arts and Afrofuturism, and starting with George Clinton, and then the visual and almost like a life perspective that some artists kind of just project, like it's part of their life.
Mhm.
But one artist, visual artist that immediately came to mind in terms of the topic was Wenge Mutu. So she is an African woman. She's Kenyan, but she lives in the U.S. now, and she blends. Like when you talk about innovation, like she's blending a lot of different techniques, art techniques, and she's blending past, present, and future in terms of her subject matter. Her work is feminist, anti-colonialist, and really engaging because of her kind of boldness of style. But it's the future and the past together, and I just love her work. I don't know if we have one or two slides. So these two works of art are multimedia. She's using different kinds of paper. She's painting. She's drawing. She's got pen and ink in there, and paint. So it's very layered. It's hard to see in a slide, but the idea is that she's drawing from everywhere, right?
Mhm.
And her figures, most of them are women, are kind of grappling with past traditions, present moment, and kind of future projections. Sometimes their bodies are partly mechanical, Sometimes, as in the first slide, she's incorporating African cultural ideas to a kind of futuristic landscape. I just think her work is really a great kind of introduction, maybe, if you don't know any Afrofuturist visual artists. Also wanted to just mention April Bay is a young artist working here in California. She has a show currently at the California African American Museum, and her work grapples with a lot of the same things. Her style is different. She's primarily doing painting, but still these themes keep coming up. Envisioning your future, empowerment for Black women, cultural combinations. I think African American culture, is often so much about, when you say innovation and experimentation and blending things, right? What do we have? Okay, we don't have a lot, but what do we have? Let's make something out of that, right?
So that's Beyonce's lemonade, right? Definitely Beyonce's
And that's I think some people might not even see that as Afrofuturistic, but it really is. That visual album is really, really kind of groundbreaking in terms of music and visuals together, right?
And the images that she uses, right?
Yeah, those images are just amazing. I mean, flat out, past, present, and she's got past, present, and future on every song almost.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Lenoble Savage, the 2006 one, and there's something so empowering about that image, right?
I think so. I think it's a powerful stance.
Yeah.
I think there's no sense of, it's so funny because, thinking about that image, you see the title and you think, oh, that's, a stereotype, or that, but the image is actually, I think, very empowering,
Yeah. And then this one, the double fuse, I mean, my goodness, you know what I mean? Like, that's because you don't know what they are. It looks like music at the top. We don't know what the hands and what the muscles are. Then we've got there's so much blended in together. And
there's so much going on, but they're powerful figures. Like her work really, I just think her work always has that sense of empowerment, not that the technology is killing us or harming us, but it's going to be part of what we are, and we can use it, we can control it. I don't see her work as being sort of anti, like Luddite, right? She's not anti this, but she's like, okay, we're using this, we're using everything we've got, we're using this.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, it really just paves the way forward, of component gathering and not shunning the new world or what's new technology. It's really beautiful.
So I'm happy to be able to share that work with the group. But like I said, I could go all day with different artists. April Bay, she's local. She's based in LA, and if you go to the African American Museum website, you can see some of what she's doing. But I would say there are artists like Betty Saar, even, who uses, she's a collage and montage artist, right? She gathers things and makes them either into sculpture, or when she does her print work, has iconography that can be mechanical and point to technology, but also mysticism, So
was the Aunt Jemima, the one that made the
yeah, she was the revolution of Aunt Jemima. So Aunt Jemima has been reborn as a revolutionary. She's got a shotgun, she's got her outfit, she's very recognizable, but she's not a victim, and she's not she's not to be underestimated.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that she took this image and then she remade her into something else. She took this character and remade her into something else. So how does this all translate into literature and poetry, right? Because this is art. This is about art. But I mean, you have to kind of go through some of the visuals to understand what's actually happening before we get into the poetry and we get into the literature, right? And Afrofuturistic literature and poetry. So if we look forward, we'll see that really it's about experimentation. When we look at Afrofuturistic poetry, we're looking at experimental poetry. And the oddest thing in the world is that so much of Black poetry, African American poetry, is experimental. We're talking many artists who are doing things that have not been done before, and they're Black poets, right? And why are they doing this? Why are they pushing that envelope? You know, what's going on here? And that's what I think is Afrofuturistic and Afrofuturism in poetry. So I want you guys to hear Natasha in Nevada Diggs. She's performing Jane Cortez's poem, If the Woman is a Drum. And listen to what she does with sort of the vocal experimentations and how she's actually vocalizing this poem. I think it's really beautiful. So Cass will go ahead and play it.
If the drum is a woman, why are you pounding your drum into an insane babble? Why are you pistol whipping your drum at dawn? Why are you shooting through the head of your drum and making a drum tragedy of drums? If the drum is a woman, don't abuse your drum. Don't abuse your drum. If the drum is a woman. I know the night is full of displaced persons. I see skin stripped with flames. I know the ugly disposition of underpaid clerks. They constantly menstruate through the eyes. I know the bitterness embedded in flesh. The itching alone can drive you crazy. Gong, 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 gay, 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 gay. I know that this is America, and chickens are coming home to roost on the MX missile. But if the drum is a woman, why are you choking your drum? Why are you raping your drum? Why are you saying disrespectful things to your mother drum, your sister drum, your wife drum, and your infant daughter drum? If the drum is a woman, then understand your drum is not docile. Diggity. Your drum is not invisible. Ding, 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 dong, pash. Your drum is not inferior to you. Bash. Your drum is a woman. Boom, 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 boom. Your drum is a woman. So don't reject your drum. Don't try to dominate your drum. Don't become weak and cold and desert your drum. Don't be forced into the position as an oppressor of drums and make a drum tragedy of drums. And make a drum tragedy of drums. If the drum is a woman, don't abuse your drum. Digga digga dum bum bum bum. Don't abuse your drum. Digga digga dum dum dum. Don't abuse your drum. Drum 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 drum. If the drum is a woman.
There's something so powerful about that, right? And she gets almost into singing in the end, right? I mean, but think about what she's saying. Don't abuse your drum, right? If the drum is a woman, like what is she actually saying? So I really love that.
No, that's fantastic. I've not heard anything like that before. It's poetry, it's music, it's,
Mhm,
I'm sure the performance aspect of it would have been amazing to see.
mhm, mhm. And that's kind of what like you'll find with like Afrofuturism and poetry
Mhm.
is that you're going to find not necessarily it being about the future or about science fiction. You're going to find it pushing against convention, right? So that you might have something that's doing something with language or something that's doing something on the page or doing something with the line breaks. And some of the poets that I put up there was Douglas Kearney, Latasha Nevada Diggs. She does this a lot. Douglas Kearney does this. Jane Cortez, that was Latasha Nevada Diggs reading Jane Cortez. She does it. Tracy Morris is another poet that did. And you can even think of, if you guys are familiar with the Last Poets, have any of you ever heard of that?
Mhm. Yeah.
The Last Poets, New
The
York,
last
New
poets,
York, the Big Apple, New York, New
yeah.
York, the
Yep.
Big Apple, right? They were doing some of the exact same things.
Oh, okay. So that's part
Mhm.
of that's part of the continuum, right?
Part of the continue. So it's not a new thing that she's doing. She's
Mhm.
actually kind of taking this forward. What did you think, Cassidy? Was this the first time hearing something like that for you?
I've been such a huge fan of Latasha and Nevada Diggs for so long. I'm absolutely in love with her work. So this is just a continuation of how enamored I am with her. Um, yeah, I think it's just wonderful how she plays with sound and
Mm,
just really gets into the nitty gritty of what language really is. It's just at its bare bones, it's a collection of syllables that we invest meaning in. And the way that she extracts meaning from rhythm and beat, it's just so beautifully articulated.
And there it is, extracting meaning from rhythm and extracting meaning from music, right? So cool.
She's greatly influenced you, Cassidy. Your work is in that vein, or some of it.
Some of it is, yeah. I try to, I would say, more so than I love her work and I'm obsessed with all the things that she does. I'm not as cool as a sound artist as she is.
Give yourself some time. Give yourself some time.
Exactly, right? Right? Not yet. You're saying I'm not yet as cool as she is. But Cassidy has a poem that she would like to share with us that I think is so cool. And this is totally in line with what we've been talking about, right? Right? With experimentation. So I would love to hear Cassidy's poem. Now, first of all, this is a type of poem. This is a twine poem. And can you tell us a little bit about what a twine poem is, Cassidy?
Yeah, so Twine is an engine made where you can make interactive poetry or games, is what it's usually made for. But when I found out that Twine existed, I got so excited because it's a whole new door for poetry. Um, so it's hyperlinked based. So you just click on the links and yeah, I'll play it and we can see. So to be human, to be mediated. Wait, let me unmute this.
Bajo el rosal,
To be
con
mediated.
las manos en cruz,
To be transitive. I think we need that with
sobre
suddenly.
tu
To exist
corazón,
transitively between an I and a
que
you and an us.
mañana
You
con
arrive unanchored,
Dios
unassumed, beneath your
tú
mantle.
te
No question. You always here.
despertarás,
Never
que mañana con Dios. Buenas noches, mi amor. Duerme bajo el
You know how to
rosal,
fix a surfboard?
con las
Or a boat?
manos
How to
en
stand?
cruz,
You know
sobre
how to tune a
tu
guitar? How to strum?
corazón,
How to pluck?
que
How to speak to her? So you learn
mañana
to love the word
con
cataclysm. The
Dios
sudden stretch of syllables that
tú
makes
te
motion better.
despertarás,
Beautiful.
que mañana con Dios.
What do you find in the
Buenas
world
noches, mi amor.
knowing
Duerme bajo el rosal, con las
clouds and black.
sobre tu corazón, que mañana con Dios tú te despertarás.
Wow. And I know that it's difficult on this Zoom to get the full effect of these poems with the sounds and the images. Cassidy's poem will be featured in our next issue of Chef Poetry. And we can definitely put some links for you guys if you want to experience that poem yourself, or even my poem that scrolls through yourself. But I love this idea of clicking on one thing after the other and interacting with the poem and moving through it from link to link. And it is beautiful. It is achingly beautiful. Do you want to talk to us about making that poem, Cass, or about what you were trying to do?
Yeah, I really loved the audio for this, and I actually made this for what's called a game jam, but it was a poetry game jam, like one we're hosting for Chef Poetry, actually. So it was very short. I made it in like a couple hours, and the whole intention behind it was just to create an experience with like a limited amount of words. So this was an experience that I don't know. I wanted to play a lot with sound and the mechanical clicking and how a clicking can be a pulse, a heartbeat, and interaction that you have, and how you have to keep pressing forward even if it hurts and even if it aches.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a physicality to it, right? Having to click and having to move through a poem in that type of way. There's this sort of physicality of doing it and touching it. So,
Interesting
yeah.
that poetry now can encompass and writing can encompass the mechanical in a very different way through our computers. I mean that the whole clicking thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's very innovative, and I don't know. I think like you experience the poem differently than just reading, right?
Yeah.
There's a time element, right? When you have a piece like Cass's piece or like your piece, it's scrolling, things are moving, you can interact with it. Um, you can have a very powerful experience with a poem that way. Um, and I don't think I ever thought in those terms in terms of poetry before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one thing I really wanted to do, and I'm so grateful that Inlandia is giving me this chance, is to make that link and that connection between experimental poetry and Afrofuturism, right? And really show that this is just that other side. It's just the logical expansion of those ideas. So I think that's really important. So we are going to be bringing Chef Poetry back. There's a magazine, yay, called Chef Poetry that I was doing for a while, and I had to shut it down because life got in the way, but it is coming back. Submissions are now open. Send your submissions to chefpoetry@gmail.com. And we are doing experimental poetics. So we take pretty much everything: audio poems, video poems, visual poems, poems that are all across the page, poems that are just numbers, poems that are just images, whatever it is you think is a poem. We will take it and most likely publish it. So we've also got some game jam links on there if you want to make an interactive poem. This special issue is the interactive issue, but it doesn't have to be one of these game jam poems. It could be whatever you think interactive is. Maybe your poem is in the you voice, or maybe your poem is in somehow or other reaching to the reader somehow across the page. Okay, so please, please, please submit something to Chef. We're definitely wanting to see your work and wanting to see some of those things. And again, this is my love, right? This is my great love, right? And this is why, because it is Afrofuturism and it is part of this continuum. So do you guys want to say anything about it? Cass, do you want to say anything about Afrofuturism or about chef poetry?
Yeah, I've been working with Chef for a little bit now, and I'm so excited. I went through all the archives to see everything that we've had, and there's just such a large body of just beautiful work that really bends what poetry is defined as. Yeah, I love that interactive could even be like an audio poem of like music, and then you tell the listener to like sing along or like call back and forth or anything. It's just so open and so inviting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, there's something that's in the chat and I want to read this. This is so beautiful. This is from Ginger Galloway. She says, you said Afrofuturism is not a genre. Can we say it is the embodiment of the writer reimagining the world as we live it? Can we say that?
I think we're allowed to say that. I think we can do that.
Yeah, resoundingly yes. And then Ginger goes on to say, I want it to fit in a space, but from listening to your talk, it is more free than my own mind. It is really futuristic. I feel like it's just organically us. And yes, that is one of the things that we tend not to think about experimentation as being Black, but it is Black. We have a long, from Betty Boop, 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 be-doop, you know, we have a long history of using vocal, you know, scatting, you know, a beady beady bop 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 bop. Where'd that come from? Right? We have a long storied history of doing things with our language and doing things vocally, right? So that's nothing new. We have a long storied oral history, right? African Americans. And so experimentation with that is just a continuing of it. So it's not, oh, this is Black and experimental. No, this is, you know, this is Black. You know, if I can say it that way, right? You know, this is unapologetically Black. This is not, it's not something new. It is a part of that history. So that's something I really wanted to get across. But even if you're not a Black writer, you can still participate in this. You can write a poem in any way that you feel like. It's just nice to push that envelope. You can write a short story and do something interesting or weird or different with that short story. I know in the New York Times, there was a short story that was written in tweets. She did the entire short story, and it was a science fiction story, and the whole thing was in tweet characters. So each part of the story was filled with tweets. So you can do, in as long as you're pushing the envelope of the structure of the form in some kind of way, it is experimental. So definitely join in. Okay. All right. Any other questions from anybody else in the audience? I love that comment. Thank you, Ginger. So we're going to move on. I put a few poetry prompts in there, and we're going to take a really quick kind of 5-minute stretch before we get into our open mic. Pretty much anybody can read who wants to read. You don't have to do the prompt and read it. You can read whatever you want. If you want to read, you can. If not, don't worry about it. But go ahead and use the raise your hand function and also put your name in the chat box if you want to read something. But we're going to take just a little stretch, and you can use some of these poetry prompts to write your own Afrofuturistic poem. Notice I said write a poem that is interactive in some way. That's from our chef poetry. So write a poem in a very specialized dialect from the future. That might be a fun one to do. Write a poem about a character who goes back in time to fight against something historically wrong. That's an Afrofuturistic poem. Write a poem backwards or in a radically different way from the normal left to right or top to bottom. Really play with the structure of the poem. Or write a poem that is interactive in some way. So stretch, get yourself something to drink, get ready for the open mic portion, and we will be back at 2:50. Thank you
so much for this conversation, Nikia. This was really fun. Like I said, we could go on for hours and hours. So maybe we'll do an Afrofuturism too.
That would be fun. That would be fun. All right, so we're officially on break, you guys. If you want to say anything to me in the comments, you totally can. Any questions? But we're gonna come back and start our open mic at 2:50. All right. Okay, I think we're coming back. Got just about a minute or so more. And I don't see anybody who is wanting to read. Let's see. So do we have any readers? Anybody? Come on. I know there's 3 writers in our attendees. So come on, you guys have got to have something. You got to have something. Even a few lines would totally work. Or we can, if you just want to comment about this what you learned. That could help too. If you just want to talk about something that you learned or talk about something that interested you in this talk, that's perfectly fine too. Let's see. All right. Okay, you guys. Still no readers? Oh, we got it. We got an attendee. Yay! Okay. So we got a winner. We have Ginger Galloway, who's going to be reading something. All right. All right, Ginger.
Okay, Nikia, I am in the car. And I know that I'm going to go in and out. So I sent you a text message with my poem. Can you read it?
You want me to read your poem? Okay, let me get my phone. Hold on.
So the way it works is after every line, the audience response is Queen Sister Girl.
Queen Sister. So this is an interactive poem. This is definitely an interactive poem. So I'm gonna need, maybe Cass, can you help me and say Queen Sister Girl while we interact? But I gotta run and get my phone, you guys. I have to, my phone's not in the same room. So I'm gonna run.
I'm gonna go back out.
Okay, and Ginger's gonna, because she's driving, but way to go. That's called guerrilla poetry. That's like poetry in the thick of it, right? So way to go, Ginger, thank you. So I'm gonna run and get my phone, so hang on just a second, and we're gonna do her interactive poem. While I'm running and get my phone, us other three poets, you can definitely read something, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I have Ginger Galloway's poem. This is Untitled. And after every line, Cass will help me say, Queen, Sister Girl. Okay, are we ready, Cass?
Aye, aye.
Okay. I am Queen, Sister Girl.
Sister Girl.
You are
Queen, Sister Girl.
We can
Queen, Sister Girl.
Will be
Queen, Sister Girl.
Can't stop
Queen, Sister Girl.
Drive on
Queen, Sister Girl.
Up down
Queen, Sister Girl.
Be you
Queen, Sister Girl.
Love us
Queen, Sister Girl.
Who you
Queen, Sister Girl.
Big boned
Queen, Sister Girl.
Brown skinned
Queen, Sister Girl.
Mother
Queen, Sister Girl.
Sister
Queen, Sister Girl.
Daughter
Queen, Sister Girl.
Friend
Queen, Sister Girl.
Caramel
Queen, Sister Girl.
Almost white
Queen, Sister Girl.
Midnight black
Queen, Sister Girl.
I am
Queen, Sister Girl.
You are
Queen, Sister Girl.
Oh, that's beautiful. Two snaps for that, Ginger. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's an interactive poem. That is definitely an interactive poem. Very good. Very good. All right. All right. So do we have anyone else? Let me see if I see some things from the chat. If anyone is saying this, let's see. Stephanie Hammer says, I am excited to hear this poem and amazing. So Stephanie Hammer, do you want to unmute and just say anything at all about this talk, about anything you learned? You totally can chime in.
Thanks so much, everyone. This is such an amazing presentation, sharing, performance. I feel like I've learned so much. I did a free write that was the tell the poem backwards exercise. And I'm just so grateful for that because I feel like it's got my brain, poetry brain, working in this completely different way now. And I'm excited about this as a way forward. So thank you so much.
Yes, yeah, I love it. I love it. And Stephanie Hammer is a writer as well too. And so it's so interesting that this can apply to whatever you do. Do you know what I mean? To whatever you're writing in, just pushing that envelope and making it different and moving things around, it can open you up in ways you don't imagine. So I love that you said that. Thank you, Stephanie.
I just got on. Do you guys know I'm here?
Yeah, Lydia. Okay.
Yay. I was
Lydia.
at church and I just got out of church and I just got home and I saw the prompt, but I didn't get a chance to write anything.
That's okay. Would you like to read anything that you have, or you can just talk a little bit?
I can read something that I've got.
Perfect.
It's in my phone. I have to unlock my phone. But hold on a second. I wrote it for the homeless ministry. Let's see. The Struggle. It's called The Struggle. So I had a really bad day at work and I just opened up my phone and I pushed record and this is what I came up with. The Struggle. I wonder what it is, a struggle. What is this thing I just do every day? I must do every day. I have to struggle. I have to go forward and not go back. I have to believe in myself, but I don't believe in anything at all. I have to believe that I'm capable and that I'm good enough, but I don't believe that. But God believes that. Jesus believes that. He believes that. I and you and we are capable of doing everything if we put our mind to it. He believes that we have the power to control the wind. We have the power to control our breath. He gives us our breath. He takes away our breath. But in between, we have the power to control it. We have the power to make it scream. We have the power to make it whisper. We have the power to make it make love. We have the power to make it hate. We control our breath. I don't believe I can do it. That's a struggle, but it's also a lie. I can do it. I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. I just have to do it whether I believe it or not, because Jesus said I can. In Jesus' name, amen.
Very nice. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you. I love that line. We have, what is it? We can make it make love and we can make it hate, right?
Yes.
Like, I really love that line. We have that power to control our breath.
Yes.
I really love that. So thank you. Beautiful.
I suggest that whenever you write or you have a really bad day, just take it to the phone or take it to the pen.
Yeah, get it down. That's writing, right? We're lucky in that way that we can take out our feelings and our insecurities and our fears and our angers and our frustrations on the page anytime we want to. Anytime we want to, right?
Yes.
Right? No one's stopping us from writing it down. So we have the power for that. So thank you, Lydia. Thank you for that. Okay, and I see Elaine's writing something on here. Okay, loved hearing Queen Sister Girl, and even parts I'm hearing. Who knows, maybe one day I'll write and express myself through poetry. So Elaine, would you like to say anything? You're totally welcome to just unmute and say anything. If not, that's fine, but you can totally speak.
Hi, ladies. I just happened to be going, I did something with Inlandia. Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
Okay. I actually have done some things with Sharon Lewis. So through Empower You Edutainment and with the NAACP. So that's how I first met one of the ladies through that. And so when I saw it on my Eventbrite, I said, I gotta click in and see what this is. But my schedule today just has been crazy. So I only heard a little bit, but I'm always at 73 years old, I'm always trying to learn. So
you're 73 years young, Elaine.
I know I am. I'm in here getting ready. I gotta do I have to actually do a videotaping for something with a group that I work with. And I said, I gotta go listen to this music. What is it? Blow the whistle? Yeah, I gotta listen to that music and get this other thing together. So I only say 73 to let, if anybody on here is thinking that they're older, don't ever, any day God gives you, when you wake up in the morning, you still have purpose.
Yeah.
Keep doing. And you ladies are great. So I'm hoping, I signed up for something. No, you don't have, you have something on Thursday too? Do you get?
No, I don't. But if you go to Inlandia, there's a whole bunch of different events that are
That
happening.
might be what I did. I think because Charles Bibbs is on something Thursday. Okay, all right. So how often do you guys do these?
Well, Blacklandia is a small sort of piece of Inlandia, and something happens mostly about once every month. And that's going to celebrate Black artists in the Inland Empire. That's Blacklandia. But Inlandia is this big literary organization in the Inland Empire. And there's so many things that happen, writing workshops and events that are always happening and going on. So we can put it in the chat box for you if you want to go and check out the website, and you can see the schedule. But there's so much there that you'll definitely find something you can connect to.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I do work with youth also. Is there a component where you work with young people? Let's say they may be elementary through high school and beginning college, or what?
I think all ages. I'm reading, okay, Janine just told us that there is something on Thursday, the Artist Talk with Richard Allen May with Romaine Washington. That's Thursday, June 17th. I think that's the one that you're talking about.
I already signed, I did the same thing. I put both of you guys in at the same time. Okay.
Good. Very, very good. Very good. So yeah, as into the age groups, Inlandia can better answer those questions for the age groups, but I really think there's something for most ages. You know, if I'm wrong, Katie, stop me. But yeah, all ages, all ages. So I think I met you, Elaine, with Sharon Wilson. There was an event for the children. They did Black Lives Matter posters, and they did an event.
Yeah, well, look, now I can't say which one it was because
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it. I'm absolutely glad you made it.
I'm glad to have this, and you know, it's so amazing to have so many forums, and that people are not aware of. They just don't know, or when I put it out there, I'm like an information portal. That's how I kind of see myself. So I try to, all the organizations are just people that I work with, my church, my sororities and all of that. I try to distribute the information, but I can't seem to get the niche to get people to go. I'm very enthusiastic, but I'm not giving up.
So don't give up. And in August, Ginger Galloway will be doing a Blacklandia event for art children. So look for that, to sign up for that in August. That is for children.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Okay, and I think the only last person here is Rose. Rose, would you like to say anything? Would you like to kind of participate a little bit? If not, it's perfectly fine, but I definitely want to give you that chance.
Hi, Nikki. I joined late.
Okay.
And I wrote something for in the chat box. I admire poets so much, but I don't have the confidence yet to express thoughts and feelings in such a few words. And maybe someday, but I think my strongest area is life stories and memoir that I have been doing at the Goski Center, you know, since 10 years, 11 years now. So keep doing the good work. And I learned by reading your poetry. And like I said, I just need a little bit more confidence in putting thoughts in very creative, short words, which I think all of you do.
No, and that's perfectly understandable. You know, you write in whatever you feel most comfortable with. So no pressure at all. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for, I'm reading your chat now. Thank you for just expressing that love for poetry and that admiration for writers of poetry. That's really sweet, Rose. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start heading off unless anyone else wants to say anything. Cass, would you like to say anything as we start heading off?
Just thank you all so much for coming and having me. This has been a pleasure. So much fun talking and discussing this and sharing work and hearing everyone. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm, I always love Inlandia. Inlandia is like a home to me. There's just something about being able to bring like your love. I feel so safe that I can talk about things this way with Inlandia, that I can talk about the little weird stuff that I do and have it accepted and have a forum for it. And I'm so happy that Cass is with you now. Cass, are you having something coming up with Inlandia as well?
Not quite yet. We have talked about the music program.
Okay.
We're still in discussion about that one. Yeah.
Okay, so look out for Cass doing something as well too, and submit to Chef Poetry. You guys definitely submit to Chef Poetry. Share that far, far and wide in your networks. It's free to submit. No submission fees whatsoever. You can submit whatever. We take it all. So definitely submit to Chef Poetry. And then go out there and be Afrofuturistic, right? In your own way, right? All right then. Bye. Oh, Katie, do you have something to say? I think, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that, Katie.
I just want to say thank you to you guys. This was really wonderful. I learned a lot and I loved hearing the poems, and I am inspired to go back and use some of what we talked about and read up on some of these other items. I hadn't heard of twine. I'm very curious about looking that up, and Chef looks beautiful. So, and Elaine, thank you for bringing up the event that we have on Thursday. I do want to just remind everybody we'll have a conversation in partnership with the Riverside Art Museum, centering the work and practices of Black artists Charles Bibbs and Richard Allen May, in conversation with Romaine Washington. And I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. We have program funding from the National Endowment for the Arts and the California Arts Council. So we are very grateful for making these programs possible. And thank you to our audience, and Nikia and Cassidy and Lisa and Janine behind the scenes. And we will all see you here again sometime. So thank you for being here.
Bye.